Assalamu alaikum students, this is Sir Ahmed Hussain from English department of SMB QAPS Public School Higher Secondary section. So my students, we are once again back, and our today's lecture is on the topic Shah Abdul Latif. Shah Abdul Latif, no doubt a very well known personality, and it is the second lesson of our textbook in which the light is thrown on the different aspects and the life of Shah Abdul Latif Bhittai. So my students, before proceeding forward, let's have an overview that different aspects are discussed in this lesson. First of all, the different efforts of saints are introduced by the writer. Later on, there is some description of saints in Pakistan, these saints who have worked for the betterment of others, and also then the writer has come to the most important personality and the major theme of the topic, that is Shah Abdul Latif, the great poet. Later on, the writer has also elaborated and described the early life of Shah Abdul Latif, and then he has also described about his title, that is the Saint of Bhit. So furthermore, there are also other aspects which are discussed in this lesson, and hopefully we'll discuss these remaining lectures and remaining topics and the remaining aspects in our subsequent video, in the second video lecture of this lesson. And indeed, this is the first video lecture of this lesson, Shah Abdul Latif. So let's move forward, my students. Here we are going to read the lesson, and on page number 7 there is the first paragraph, and in which it has been written that Islam is the religion of peace. God sent the Prophet as a blessing to mankind. He won people's hearts by his kind nature and gentle ways. His noble example was followed by many of his followers in all ages, all over the world. No doubt, Almighty Allah has sent his prophets in all the tribes of the world and all the races for the guidance of mankind. Similarly, there are also the followers of those, they are the followers with a keen and kith, and those are called saints, who practice their life right perfectly, with perfection, according to the instruction of the Prophet. So that's why the writer, it has been written here that his noble example was followed by many of his followers in all ages, all over the world. It was through the efforts of these saintly men that Islam spread far and wide. So my students, here according to the Islamic religious perspective, it is discussed that the Muslim saints, it is because of Muslim saints that Islam has spread far and wide, because Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came in this world for the guidance of the whole humanity and mankind, and his message is delivered and it is transformed to the whole world after him. And it is because of these saints that they not only practice, but also they forward this message towards others. They preach this message towards the others, and that's why the writer, it has been written that Islam has spread far and wide. These holy men were extremely successful in bringing non-Muslims to the fold of Islam, indeed. So my students, now in the second paragraph, as I have earlier mentioned, that saints in Pakistan. Now it's time to discuss some saints in Pakistan, that in every part of a country there are shrines of such saints, and some cities are mentioned here. First of all, in Lahore are the shrines of Data Ganj Bakhsh and Mia Mir Sahab. In Pakpatan lived and died Baba Farid. In Multan is the shrine of Ghaus Bahaul Haq. In Peshawar, in Quetta, and in countless other towns and cities, there are the tombs of these men of God. So Particularly these names are mentioned including Dada Ganj Bakhsh, Mia Mir Sahab and Baba Farid and Ghaus Bahaulak and so on. But at the end of this paragraph, it has been elaborated with respect to Sindh that in Sindh are the tombs of two great saints, Shah Abdul Latif and Kalandar Lal Shahbaz. And of course, we are here to discuss the life and different aspects of Shah Abdul Latif, as it is clearly the topic as well. So now in the third paragraph of this lesson, we are going to discuss Shah Abdul Latif as a great poet. So my students, the great saint Shah Abdul Latif, who is lovingly called Lal Latif by his devotees. Yes, indeed, the actual name of Shah Abdul Latif is Shah Abdul Latif, but generally he is perceived, he is called by followers and also generally called by everyone in Sindh and all over the world as well, that his name is called Lal Latif. And the date of birth is going to be mentioned, that he was born in 1102 Hijra in a small village called Hala Haveli, and this village is of course in the Sindh near Hyderabad. So furthermore, it has been mentioned that the good Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb then ruled the country, and Shah Latif and sisters migrated to Sindh during the days of Tamerlane. So here it has been historically explained that Tamerlane, who was the Mughal Turco emperor, and his emperorship was stretched, his rule was stretched in the northern areas of present day Pakistan and also in Afghanistan. So, and it was also spread far and wide in other regions as well. So at that time when that emperor was ruling, the ancestors of Shah Latif came into Sindh. They had come from Hijra, and Sindh was then a center of Muslim culture, and Shah Latif's ancestors liked it so much that they decided to make it their home. Well, at that time when there was a rule of Mughal emperor, at that time when the ancestors came here in the Sindh, ancestors of Shah Latif came here, at that time Sindh was the hub of economic activities, and that's for that reason they decided to live here. Furthermore, but now no one would have remembered their names or learned about them if many centuries later one of their descendants, Shah Habib Shah, Sayyid Habib Shah, had not been blessed with a son who grew up to be Saint Lal Latif. So here no one would be going to remember him, and because up till then, when Shah Latif was born in the family of Shah Habib, and then Sayyid Habib Shah was the father of Shah Abdul Latif. He was living here in Sindh, and at that time it was obviously the hub of economic activities when they were migrating to the Sindh. But later on, when he got birth, at that time it was the time when Shah Latif started his journey of life, and very soon he became the great poet and also called Lal Latif. So now my students, later on the light is going to be thrown on the early life of Shah Latif, that he had a very sensitive mind. Shah Latif had a very sensitive mind. His heart was soon filled with the love of God. But at the early age, his heart was filled with the emotions and feelings towards the Almighty. The beauty of nature aroused his feelings strongly. Well, my students, strongly here is used as an adverb. So once again, while comprehending this lesson, as I have earlier mentioned, that we must fulfill the objectives, and the objectives are not only to comprehend the lesson but also at the same time we need to go through some sort of practice works of grammatical aspects as well, like while going through the topic of parts of speech, that is also included in your examination, that we have to sort out some sort of part of speeches, and out of them strongly is the example of an adverb, and obviously which defines the verb. So here strongly is an adverb in this paragraph. While he was only a boy, he started composing poetry. He was also keen on acquiring knowledge, and he grew up to be a scholar of Arabic and Persian. So it's about his early education, that he became a scholar of Arabic and Persian when he was 20 years. Now, at the time when he became 20 years of age, he got married. He married a noble and good lady. He showed great kindness to his wife and lived at home for many years. His heart, however, turned more and more towards religion and devotion. But ultimately, after some time, his heart was, his feelings and his emotions were dedicated to the Almighty Allah, and he started to spend his life in the early age, not only in the early age but also after his marriage, for the sake of Almighty Allah. So later on, that's why the writer says, and he felt restless in living a normal domestic life. So what is the consequence of this sort of feeling? That is going to be discussed in this paragraph, Latif, the ascent of bit, that when his father died, so after the death of his father, Shah left his home and went to live on a mound and some distance from his village. His village, Hala Haveli, and after some distance from Hala Haveli, there was a mound over there, and he started to live his life there. A mound of sand is called a bhit in Sindhi, because in Sindhi language the mound is called a bhit, and that's why he is also called Bhitai. Due to the fact that he lived on this mound for the rest of his life, Shah Latif came to be known as the Saint of Bit, and generally it is in the Sindhi language he is also called Lal Latif and also Shah Bhitai as well, and this is the reason behind that. Then to this day he is famous all over the country as Shah Abdul Latif Bhitai, or the Shah Latif of the Mound. So my students, this was all about the reading, and hopefully you have also listen it actively, because this process of reading and actively listening is the foremost and the most important objective of going through this lesson. Second thing, you have to comprehend it well, so that you may be able to give the answers of the questions that are also the comprehension area, the part of comprehension area in your examination, and this comprehension is from the unseen passage. Later on, third thing, that we have to go through the different words, and that are also these different words are also the part of your new vocabulary building, a new vocabulary bank, and also you have to increase your vocabulary words by going through these lessons, so that you may be able to compose, anything while doing writing, while doing any sort of exercises related to writing skills. For instance, you are going to write some sort of paragraph, or as essay writing, story writing as well. So in all these exercises you have to increase your vocabulary building, and this is the only way to read extensively, so that this objective can be achieved. So that's all about this lesson, students, and hopefully you will respond well. And also this is the first part of this lesson, and in the subsequent video lecture we'll discuss the remaining part of this lesson to Shah Abdul Latif Bhitai, and indeed that will be the second video lecture of this lesson number 2. Thank you so much.